Welcome to Tya Talk. I am David Strickle, creator of the Tya Mindset Practice. And we're going to talk today about Tya skills. I haven't really used the word skills a whole lot in talking about the Tya Mindset Practice. I use the word tools a whole lot. Um, y- the concept of Tya tools came about as I was developing the Tya Bootcamp program because we have these four pillars of Tya, these four universal truths that we are choosing to believe in this practice. It's a chosen belief system. Always remember that. All belief systems really are, but we are acknowledging that it's a chosen belief system. And in our chosen belief system of the Tya mindset practice, we base our practice on the four pillars of appreciation, polarity, source, and intention. And I talk about those all the time. But within those four pillars, I give you endless tools to use to start implementing those four pillars as your way of being, if you choose to do so. But what I haven't really gotten into a whole lot is skill. And I realize that we've developed all of these tools, and that's fantastic. But you can have a fantastic tool, but until you hone your skills, until you really get good at using that tool, it's not going to be as beneficial to you. So we have our set of Tya tools. The four pillars of the Tya practice do not change from what my understanding of what the stream has delivered for us do not need to change. They're rooted in universal law. They're all any physically manifested being would ever need to systematically raise your vibration. And in the case of being a member of humanity, raise your vibration and thus experience more joy, clarity, and abundance. So that's all we ever need are the four pillars. But within those four pillars, there are lots and lots of tools, and we can continue to develop tools. But I also want to focus everyone on developing the skill of using those tools, Tya skills. And one of the Tya skills, if you will, is emotional maturity. It can be really summed up in source perspective. We talk about source perspective all the time, that high perspective of non-judgment. In fact, it's a high perspective of not just non-judgment, but authentic appreciation of all things. And I do believe that if you are learning the skill of adopting source perspective as your chief outlook on everything about your life, about humanity, about your earthly experience, that emotional maturity will be a natural byproduct of that. But emotional maturity is a thing. I certainly didn't invent this term. It's out there. It really is about not being so reactive and perhaps not reacting the same way to things that you've reacted before in your life. That as you move through more life experiences, perhaps you develop the skill to not be as triggered by things, to not be as judgmental by things, about things, to not allow things to really take your vibration down. Because remember, the practice of Tya is all about raising vibration, because raising vibration is really everything. Raising vibration is more joy, clarity, and abundance, more source perspective, less fear, less judgment. That's the holy grail of everything that we want as human beings. It is found in that emotional maturity, in that source perspective. However, we're operating in a matrix, and the matrix has its purpose, certainly, but to recognize the fact that we're operating in this matrix that teaches us the exact opposite of that exact opposite perspective of not being empowered by being highly judgmental, by being highly triggered by things, by feeling like a victim. So developing the skill of emotional maturity, or the skill of source perspective, is about teaching yourself to really, when you're in a higher vibrational state of being, ponder some things from a higher perspective. I don't know if you're. I'm just diving right into a hot button topic. There's this news story out right now in the news cycle about the Dalai Lama um, asking a young child, a young boy, to suck his tongue. How triggering is that? Oh my God! In this current day society, when everyone is on the witch hunt for pedophiles, this very triggering thing that people see, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so weird, and it's so bizarre, and it's so gross, and how could he do that, and why is he doing that? And then of course there's response from the Dalai Lama's media team, I assume, that, he's just playful and he's a non-sexual being and doesn't mean that to him. And I have to tell you, reading something or seeing something like that and not being triggered to the more obvious side, which is, what the hell is this old guy doing asking this kid to suck his tongue? That's so weird. But not being triggered that, oh my gosh, another religious figure or another spiritual figure that's turning out to be a pedophile. That's the drumbeat that you're hearing now, right? There's a lot of that innuendo and a lot of that flat out just accusing him of being that going on. And I'm using this very current, very extreme example because we have examples of that stuff that's presented to us to trigger reaction. It gets caught up in the news cycle. It's good for ratings. It gets everybody sort of polarized on a topic. And how nice it is to seek to just appreciate, meaning understand on a deeper level, what was he thinking? What was going on in his mind? Was he perhaps just being playful? Did he not understand the optics of something like that, especially in front of cameras and other people and all this sort of thing? Just being able to have that loving source perspective without lighting the torch, going after someone over something like that. That's emotional maturity. Getting into a discussion about politics and not being triggered into a one side, singular side of a debate, that's emotional maturity. To me, appreciating that all beings are multidimensional beings. And the Matrix wants to tell us otherwise. The Matrix wants us to label everyone in a one-dimensional way, especially when it comes to things like politics. We're seeing more of that. As the Matrix is being challenged, as the Matrix is starting to crumble, it's fighting for life. It doesn't want to go away. It comes back and divides us even more. And that division, though, is our chosen belief system that my way is the right way, and anyone that isn't my way is wrong. Period. And I heard a politician, this thought process now that all Democrats are pedophiles, and this other thought process that all Republicans are these dumb rednecks, and these people that should be ridiculed and laughed at, and that's all they are. That's all. It's just one-dimensional thinking. Well, it's certainly not source perspective. We know that. Any of us that are believers in that source perspective of non-judgment and really understand what that looks like can really start applying that to our lives and not be so divided about things, because you see the weakness and the lack of sophistication that's present in that one-dimensional thought, in that division that one-dimensional thought creates. It lowers your vibration, because when you are looking at any topic in a one-dimensional way, that, okay, this Dalai Lama is done this thing, and now I'm going to label it as should not be, or label him as should not be, and leave it there as this is an evil, awful thing that must be stopped, and I'm going to stop there. Well, you're not agreeing with source. You're not in alignment with source perspective, and you are allowed to do that. Source is not this judgmental entity that is going to damn you to an eternity of hell because you don't agree. You're simply separating yourself from that perspective. I believe that knowledge was the beginning of the whole concept of good and evil, and the whole concept of God and Satan, or whatever other endless iterations there are of all of that stuff. I think that's the beginning of it. That there was source energy, and source is a creative power that we identify as a benevolent, loving being, and there is something that is less than that. There is separation from that in the physical experience, and our separation from that drives us into a lower vibrational state of non-creation, really. What we're creating down there is the unraveling of positive creation and the attraction of destructive creation and things that we don't want to experience. So the lowering of our vibration is taking us into our unwanted territory. Well, the Matrix is guiding us exactly there. The Matrix is saying, be one-dimensional. You need to be right. And for you to be right, everyone else needs to be wrong. Have enemies, have opposition. You can't appreciate XYZ. You're not allowed to appreciate that thing, that topic. And the reason that I like to go out to the leading edge of whatever it is we're not supposed to be appreciating, like pedophilia, is because it's a great way to demonstrate the point that we're taking any topic, hot topics of the day. Certainly, pedophiles are a hot topic. Human trafficking is a hot topic. School shootings. We don't want those things to be. None of us are wanting those things to be, yet they are. But the people that are driving or people that are participating in the behavior that we're all demonizing are not one-dimensional beings. And once someone is labeled one of those things, you're no longer allowed to ever say anything positive about them or think anything positive about them. It's strictly a negative label of judgment that's placed on them. But what happens when we do that? We are feeding more of that behavior. We see how contagious it is. Oh, school shooting, another school shooting. Oh, let's stop this let's stop it by demonizing it. That person was a monster. That person was evil. That person was awful. That person was, and that's all they are, and that's all they were. And there's no other reason. Either they were just an evil person, or it's the gun's fault. And that's the two sides of the argument, and that solves nothing as we see. Tya is the opposite of that. Tya is let's go into deep appreciation of all of it, meaning a deep understanding of all of it. Let's seek to understand what's driving the topics that I just listed. What's driving that? Why are physically manifested beings here in this magnificent earth environment, in this fantastic physical vehicle that we have created, that source has created, that God has created, however you want to label that, it's all the same. Here we are in this magnificent creation at the leading edge of thought, as far as we know. As far as we know, we are at the leading edge of thought. We like to think that there are beings on other planets that are more intelligent than us, quite possible, but we don't know that. What we know is our earth environment. What we know is this vibration that we all chose to come to. And here we are in this earth environment, this earth vibration, and we see the pain and the struggle that the matrix is creating and the separation from source perspective. And then those of us that are choosing something other than that, that we are choosing to go into deeper understanding of, we're not as triggered, we're not as suffering in these things, because we can view something like what I saw yesterday about the Dalai Lama, not completely understand it at face value. Definitely my human mind was sort of a, gosh, why the hell would he do that? You've got a pretty good thing going, Dalai Lama. Why would you mess it up by doing that with a child? But that's what he chose to do. And it was what happened in the vibration of that moment. And we all know that we all create these disruptions to our life experience in order to expand. Well, I believe the Dalai Lama, if I'm not mistaken, is 82 years of age and perhaps just needed to create a disruption to create a new challenge to expand in. Because here is this person that is celebrated as this holy, perfect being, almost this kind of Christ-like being, if you will, that is the embodiment of Buddhism. But we all know that he's still a human being. I don't believe in superhumans. I've always said there was nothing superhuman about me channeling the stream. There's still nothing superhuman about me channeling the stream. Every time I get on here and speak to you, I'm channeling the stream, which is my source connection. We all have that. We all have it. Therefore, it's not special. It's not sacred. I think that I have a really good understanding of it, and I love to share that with all of you. And I've created a practice around doing that. But that doesn't put me on a pedestal as some deity. I'm as imperfect as anybody else. But I have developed the skill, in most cases, of emotional maturity, where I'm not meeting my obstacles in the same type of judgment and fear that I used to. So that's a skill within the Tya practice that we can all develop. Yeah, the tool is source perspective. The tool is being able to dial into that source perspective vibration. And I do believe that as beings of the universe, as eternal strands of consciousness, we have the ability to connect with any vibration. And any and every vibration includes any and every thought or belief system or way of being that has ever been or ever will be. So we have the power to shift our mindset, and we have the power to make a habit of that new mindset. That's the skill. The skill is creating the habit. The beauty of the Tya practice is if you do the 4 pillars, if you always default back to the 4 pillars, knowing where you are vibrationally all the time. I'm up, I'm down, I'm somewhere in the middle. What happens up here, what happens there, and what happens down here? I know that because I'm a student of vibration. I understand the vibrational spiral. That is a life-changing tool for anyone to adapt to, and a life-changing skill to make it your way of being, to have the skill of knowing where you are vibrationally all the time. Even when you're down so low that you don't care about any of this stuff because you're so separated from source, it just feels hopeless. You still know where you are. And knowing where you are might actually create a little more suffering in the beginning. I talk about this in the boot camp journey all the time, that people get into boot camp and they start doing the modules and they start doing this work and really playing with these 4 pillars. And they say, gosh, I'm more DTS now than ever. I paid all this money to come into boot camp. What happened? Well, yeah, you're not more DTS than ever. You are beginning to notice how DTS you always are and were before you ever came in here. Now we're going to teach you how to not do that anymore. We're going to teach you how to recognize and appreciate the fact that you're DTS and gracefully move up your spiral, or more intentionally move up your spiral if you want. It's your choice. So having the skill of being able to meet your obstacles, and anything unwanted is an obstacle. Turning on social media and seeing something that triggers you about politics or children or animals, and being able to observe that in a different mindset from a higher vibration of non-judgment, that is a skill that you learn, and it takes time for most people. I think anything is possible instantaneously, yes, but for most of us, we're moving through this vibrational flow, so therefore we are going to ebb and flow with new skills. We're going to get better at it for a while the more we practice it, and then we might regress a little bit when we think we're okay and don't have to practice it anymore. Then we regress. Well, that's why we have the 4 pillars to fall back on. That knowing where we are vibrationally all the time is a huge, 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 huge skill. The second skill in the practice is teaching ourselves how to authentically detune, our life's transgressors, how to authentically release all judgment around anything unwanted that we've experienced. Because that judgment of anything that we've experienced so far in life is creating those future judgments, because it's the vibration of judgment. Oh, I was a victim. Oh, that was a toxic relationship. Oh, I really suffered in that situation. Oh, they were so terrible to me. Or how could that happen? Or how could I have gotten so sick? I didn't deserve that. All of that mindset that the Matrix teaches is designed to lower our vibration. And it's very easy to say, okay, this is a cabal of evil people that have created this matrix to hold us down. There's an element of truth to that. But if you get focused on that, then you're going to go down the rabbit hole and you're right back in the matrix. So there's no point in doing that. When you're demonizing the 1%, when you're demonizing the powers that be, you are giving them more power. Demonization is a very empowering, because you are feeding something's energy. In your demonization of something, you are focused on it. And if you're focused on it, you're giving it life, you're giving it power. Because the universe is not judging it as bad or evil or wrong or should not be. Source is not judging it that way. Source is saying, oh, you're demonizing this person or this group of people or this belief system. Well, here's more. Because you're focusing on it, you're giving it life. And source, i.e. the universe, is not judging that. Here's your experience. You came to physical to have a contrasting experience of both positive and negative things. You get what you focus on. If you want to focus on your enemies, you want to focus on your demons, you want to focus on the things that you believe shouldn't be, then you're going to create more of those things. Have at it. Have your human journey. Go right ahead. We're not judging your experience. You can make it as miserable as you want. You can suffer as much as you want in your human journey. It's all up to you. But we have the skills, we have the tools, we have the keys to the universe in this practice. And they're available to everyone. Yes, I have boot camp and all that stuff, but you all know I teach this stuff everywhere all the time. And I love teaching it because I love to see and hear people transforming in it. And I love to share my own transformation journey in it because it is magical. It is magical to begin moving through life at a time when the matrix is as noisy as ever, when the matrix is being questioned, being fractured, and coming back around and regenerating itself in a different way and saying, okay, we're going to come back this way and we're going to draw you right back into that narrative of fear and judgment. That's going to lower your vibration. It's going to make you more compliant. It's going to victimize you a bit, and it's going to create anxiety. Anxiety is the symptom of the matrix. If you are anxious, if you are feeling anxiety, if you have moved on down your spiral into stress, it's because you're in the matrix. Period, period, period. And the key out of the matrix for anyone is raising your vibration. How do you do that? Know where you are vibrationally. Understand what source is, however you want to identify it. There's endless ways to identify source. But a lot of those ways include a lot of humanization of source. I have found it in my own journey very helpful to strip away all the humanization, all of the human expectations. Because once you strip away all the humanization of source, source makes a whole hell of a lot more sense. Because when you think of source as this powerful, creative, benevolent, loving energy, and then you start saying, well, gosh, how would that energy allow suffering to exist? You're not fully understanding the non-judgmental function of source, and you're not fully appreciating the contrasting human journey that we all came here to have. Meaning that suffering has a purpose. That suffering is your indication that you're in a vibrational state of being that is not very creative and not very expansive. It ends up being expansive no matter what, because it inspires you to something. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be with so much suffering. So I have a question from Cheryl. Is vibration subjective based on individuality? Meaning your joy isn't normally jump up and down joy. It's quiet and often reflective. I think the way that we express emotion is an individually developed vibration, if you will. I think that's individual. Yeah, we're all different. There's endless evidence that we're all here, not at all created equal, not at all on an equal journey. We're all here in this tapestry of creation, and we're all different because we have this eternal strand of consciousness that is projecting into a physical vehicle that we know is a design product of our physical parents, and that we're absorbing their vibration, but we're also bringing in our own unique vibration into that. And then we're not just absorbing the vibration of our parents, we're absorbing the whole world around us. I was telling somebody at brunch on Sunday that I was very much a latchkey, Gen X latchkey kid. My parents divorced when I was 6. My mother was not very involved in my life. My father was even less involved in my life. I was left to my own devices. And that was, in my opinion, the golden age of television. The 1970s that had all of these sort of cutting edge, a lot of them were sitcoms on, like All in the Family and Soap, and gosh, some of them are escaping me now, but there were these just amazing TV shows, Maude, that really shaped my worldview as a young child in small town Louisiana. And my worldview ended up being something, I believe, more sophisticated because I was glued to the damn television set at that time. And I was very influenced by the thoughts of people like Norman Lear, who created these TV shows. So I learned from my surroundings. I didn't have the parents supplying a lot of information to me, so I learned from my surroundings. And I was definitely drawn inward to a lot of my own inner knowing. And so it made me the unique being that I am. We're all that. We're all a unique being. We all learn from our environment. And of course, the closer your parents were to you, the more reflective of them you're going to be, to a point. But there are certainly plenty of stories of people that are very reflective of their parents until puberty hits. And then there's something in that mechanism of puberty in our environment that causes us to want to separate from that and go out and experience other things. to make ourselves a more sophisticated being. We're not supposed to be a mirror image of the combination of just our parents. We are obviously supposed to be more than that, and we're supposed to be a more sophisticated version than what came before. That's the whole point of physical manifestation, is to come into physical, have the contrasting experience, and develop more sophistication within your consciousness. So David is asking for tangible techniques to monitor our vibration. The tangible techniques to monitor your vibration is simply making yourself more aware and making how you feel in any moment throughout the day a priority. Because again, the matrix says you're a victim of this. You have no control over it. Some days you feel good, some days you feel bad. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. There's nothing you can do. Oh well. And I have to tell you, not to go off on too much of a tangent because I try to keep these to half an hour, but I see a lot of people that practice astrology. And I'm connected to some people on Facebook that are really into astrology. And they have this forecast that they put out based on what's going on with the planets. And what's going on with the planets and planetary alignment is going to have so much impact based on you, especially based on you, depending upon your place and date and time of birth. We all know kind of how that works. And there's a predictive quality to it. Well, when people don't want to take responsibility for their own future and their own present, it's great to be able to look and say, well, gosh, my life sucks right now because Mercury's in retrograde, or whatever's going on out there that's supposed to be creating all this challenge in your life. I believe in vibrational flow. I believe in polarity. I believe that the study of astrology is very real. I believe that people have studied the energetic realm and how we relate to it in the physical realm, and they have created a somewhat predictable pattern, but obviously it doesn't work for everyone, because this person this morning was talking about, this heavy dark period. Oh, we're moving through this heavy darkness right now in this heavy dark period. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm doing really well. I'm going through a magnificent, expansive, joyous period right now, not paying attention to what some astrologers telling me that I'm supposed to be experiencing, but paying attention to how I feel and using my skills to have a higher vibrational experience moment by moment. So it's the skill of first recognizing where you are, knowing where you are, and understanding that what you're feeling in a moment is your reaction to the vibration that you're experiencing. And the more you detune the judgment of it, which is a tangible technique to catch yourself. We talk about stop gaps as a tool, right? Well, if the tool of the stop gap is known to you, then, and you're not doing it, it's because you haven't yet developed the skill. And that's just about practice. Like everything else, you practice it, you do it, you implement it, you make it your way of being. Pretty soon you've completely changed maybe everything about your life, but certainly on a major level. And in that change, you can look back and realize, wow, I'm doing so much better now. What changed? What's different? It's always the vibration. Instead of trying to set out and force a change without first allowing the vibrational shift, you're usually not going to be so successful. But using your mindset to create the change first, and using your mind to remember. And we have these lovely tools, these wonderful tools these days that we can use to create reminders for ourselves and check in. Where am I vibrationally? It's one of the first things we have people do in boot camp is to start checking in with themselves. Where am I vibrationally? What vibration am I in right now? Am I as high as I want to be? Am I at a positive 5, positive 10, positive 15 on the vibrational spiral? Or am I something less than that? And I have to tell you, very often when I check in with people that are in coaching programs and things, they'll say, I'm in neutral. I've been in neutral for weeks. Well, you haven't been in neutral for weeks. You've probably been DTS for weeks. Because anything less than joy, clarity, and abundance is DTS. Anything less than joy is below neutral. It's not neutral. Neutral, the way we define neutral, is no thought. You are not operating in no thought for more than a couple of seconds, unless you've really developed the skill of meditation where you can authentically clear your mind for longer than that. you are not residing in neutral very long. Thoughts pop right back in. You're back on that vibrational roller coaster all the time. And meditation is a fantastic skill to develop because you are taking yourself off that vibrational roller coaster from any point on it, and simply re-emerging yourself as a source being. You're turning down the volume on your ego essentially, and allowing your source being to be your state of being in that state of meditation, until the ego comes back around and says, hey, wait a minute, don't forget about me. What about that thing you were thinking about? Or you need a sandwich, or your back itches right now. Or, hey, here's something to be afraid of. Just depending on your general vibration, that ego is going to self-start. It's like breathing. It's just going to come back. So the skill of emotional maturity or emotional intelligence, I think they're really the same thing. The skill is developed in developing that stopgap skill, first of all, and catching yourself. I feel less than joy, clarity, and abundance right now. Why is that? Well, I'm a little DTS. Or maybe something's triggering me. Usually, if you're triggered by something, you're already DTS. You just may not know it because you're on autopilot. We call it get it done mode. A lot of humanity operates a lot of the time in get it done mode, and get it done mode is not up the spiral. It's a little bit down. It's -5, the way I define it. So the skill of catching that stopgap of catching yourself and saying, is this worth going down my spiral over? I feel myself, being triggered by something. I'm seeing something. I'm hearing something. It's creating a negative spark within me, a negative reaction. And it's a negative reaction because it doesn't feel good. You're not laughing. You're not feeling joyous. You're not feeling hopeful and abundant and feeling like you're taking that magical trip up your spiral. You know what that feels like. You're feeling something less than that. Oh, what was that? The Dalai Lama asked the kid to suck his tongue. What the hell is that? And you have the choice in that moment of saying, oh my God, that's so sick. It's so awful. It shouldn't be. And this person, all the crap that we do, you're going down your spiral. Or you have the choice of saying, wait a minute, is this worth going down my spiral over? That whole idea, well, I've got to protect the children. You're not protecting that child in that moment. The thing already happened, and that's just your ego, trying to pop in there and saying, oh, you're going to be the savior of other people, which is usually a cover up for trying to save yourself, really. But that stopgap of, is this worth going down my spiral over? So when you read the news article that triggers you, realize, oh, I'm already a little DTS, or I wouldn't even be reading this article that's triggering, and I sure as hell wouldn't be triggered by it. Is this worth going down my spiral over? That is a skill that you can develop, and you can start developing it today. And every single time you feel yourself with any tinge of negative emotion, and you learn to stop being allowing and really be non-negotiable on allowing negative emotion. I don't want to feel negative emotion. I'm going to. I understand it's part of the human journey. I'm going to, but I've gotten really good at catching myself as soon as I'm in that down the spiral place. Oh, wait, do I want to be down here? Is it worth going down my spiral over? That stopgap skill that I've created for myself is the very thing that stops that plummet. I come back to my senses. Wait a minute. I have created in my aura, I've created in my vibration, whatever term you want to use, I have created a very clear understanding of what source perspective is. And it's so simple. It's the perspective of non-judgment, authentic appreciation of all that is. So there is your comparison. If you want to compare to something, am I in the vibration of appreciation right now? Am I in the vibration of appreciation of all that is right now? Am I watching this video and this example that I've given? I don't even think I saw the video. I think it was a picture and a quote, a headline. Am I observing this situation with the Dalai Lama asking a child to suck on his tongue? And am I rising to the source perspective of non-judgment? Yeah, I can do that because I don't know what the hell all that's about. So I can do that. I don't have to race down the judgment spiral. I don't have to save that child from that experience. I am looking at it through the eyes of source, no judgment, and stopping myself from beating that drum of, oh my gosh, another pedophile. So that's the skill. That's how you do it. You catch yourself. You realize that, it's the ego that says we have to go save these people from their experience. Source isn't saying that. And that's a hard pill for people to swallow. That's why the Tya practice, at this time doesn't have millions of followers, because I don't think, we've got to create a scenario where millions can comprehend this stuff. It's a very sophisticated thought process to come to the conclusion that it's not our place in this world, and it's not the source perspective to save humanity from its experience. Because if source's perspective was to save humanity from its experience, it would. Source would look at Earth and say, this place is damaged and broken and toxic and terrible, and simply destroy it. It would simply cease to be. And that's not happening. Understand the logic of that and compare that to the logic of almost every other belief system on the planet, and think about which one makes more sense to you. Procrastination, to answer the last question here from David, as far as developing the skills and the techniques and improving the skill, obviously you're going to improve a skill by employing it more of the time. And it is a stopgap. A stopgap is catching yourself. Here's an old habit of thought, an old matrix created habit of thought, of fear triggers and judgment triggers and anything less than source perspective, an old matrix developed habit of thought that I have to save the world from its experience, that I have to save humanity, I have to save the children, I have to save the old people, and I have to save everyone from their experience. Again, that's not being crass, because if I saw someone on fire in front of me, yes, I would do anything I could to help them. Absolutely, I would. That's a high vibrational thing to do. Setting yourself aside and your fear aside and helping someone else that's authentically in need in front of you is a high vibrational thing to do. It's a choice. Source isn't saying you must, but reacting in assistance is different than that judgment of should not be. Because this whole mindset of, we have to save the children, we have to save people from themselves, and that shouldn't be happening, that just fuels more of that stuff. It's pointless. It's wasted energy, in my opinion, that we would sit around and think about, how these things just shouldn't be. I would much rather take action. I would much rather go into deep understanding of the root of the problem, and instead of battling the problem, create an alternative to the problem. Alternative to the problem, less fear, less judgment. Why do you think people abuse other people? Why do you think people harm other people? Why do you think people want to take an automatic weapon and go mow down as many people as they can because they're so angry? But where's that anger rooted? The anger is rooted in fear and judgment and comparison and feeling like a victim and feeling powerless. And the automatic weapon in their hand makes them feel empowered. For one last event in their exit from humanity, they're going to go feel empowered. But nobody talks about that. It's either, they're crazy people, it's woke culture, or it's the gun. You can work on any or all of those things, but until you get to the root cause and create an antidote, meaning a different perspective. Maybe it's okay that you're in high school and you're not the most popular guy in school. Maybe it's okay that you're not captain of the football team. Maybe it's okay that you are going to find your skill set at some other point and that you have value and that you are worthy. But instead, we have this matrix that tells you what you're supposed to be. And when someone isn't, and then you fuel that with feeling empowered by mowing people down, then you're going to have mass shooters. We're not going to solve these problems. We're not going to solve the problems of humanity by demonization or labeling things as should not be. We know that. But you don't have this isn't about solving humanity. This is about choosing a different life experience for yourself as a member of humanity. Being the example. Sharing it, yes. But understanding that I don't need to make billboards out of this stuff. I don't need to try to go on national television and try to convince people to think this way. I want to put this out there for people who are ready for it to discover, absolutely. But I'm not preaching it. I'm not trying to convert. because you got to be ready for this stuff. You've got to be ready. You've got to have gone through your own journey and intellectually brought yourself to this place where you come to understand that, gosh, when I feel better, my life goes better. When I stop worrying about all of the external shit and really focus internally, I have more joy, clarity, and abundance. I have more of the things that I want happening in my life experience. And when I think positively and look around at the world as this amazing, beautiful creation, a reflection of source, and make that my belief, then I start getting more evidence of that. But we have this tricky matrix that wants to come back around and bite you in the ass and say, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. That's selfish. What are you going to be, a one percenter and just be callous and not care about your fellow human? Look at all that suffering. You need to judge that. You need to fear that. You should be doing something to try and stop that. And then in your suffering, your own suffering, you're lowering your vibration, you're pulling yourself right back into the matrix, and then you just become a cog in that machine again. And you can choose that experience. And I promise you, Source is not judging that. Source is not judging that experience if you choose to have it. But we all know that we don't have to have that experience. And there's nothing wrong with other people choosing to have that experience. That's the big thing here. So we're going to be talking a lot more. I'm going to come on 3 times a week now. I'm going to do 2 Patreon exclusive live videos every week on Tuesday at 9 and Thursday at 4 Pacific. I always quote Pacific time. And I'm going to go back on social media, and I'm going to start doing a live social media on Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock also. So I'll be on 3 times a week. I definitely want to support our Patreon community who is supporting this message and supporting us. We appreciate that. We're going to give you more, but I am going to share it with the world. I am going to get it back out on social media as well. We'll be back on Facebook and YouTube. It's time to detune the judgment of all of that for me and to get the message back out there. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about skills. We've given you lots of tools. I'll continue to talk about tools, but when I talk about a tool, I also need to talk about a skill. Because if I can't teach you how to implement the skill, the tool is useless. So thank you so much for watching, and thanks for being part of our community.